Would you like to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Speakeasy and master connector Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on this planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another absolutely fantabulous, awesome, simply incredible episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today, we have a nationally recognized innovation strategist who helps Fortune 1000 organizations and city governments unlock growth, align teams, and lead through complexity. She's the author of Leading Through Freefall. Kind of love that title. How Innovators Turn Turbulence into Trust. We're going to have such a great conversation. Thrive Out listeners, excited to bring you Brianna Sylver. Brianna, welcome to Thrive Loud.
Thank you for having me here, Lou. I'm super excited to be here.
Excited to have you. Brianna is coming to us from Chicago, out in our nation's Midwest area. It is early November. Hopefully not too chilly out there, right? It's not so bad right now.
Not so bad, actually. It's kind of holding. It's holding on its own from a weather perspective right now. No snow yet, which, is a plus for fall.
It's a plus. So I love to kind of help bring people up to speed. If you could share with our listeners, Brianna, how did what you're doing each and every day, how did it become your gig?
Yeah. So what I do each and every day is I lead Sylver Consulting, which is an innovation research and strategy firm. We support organizations to future-proof their offerings. So we sit at the intersection of market research, user experience, and strategy, and really support organizations to kind of enhance their brands, fill their innovation pipelines, and then align stakeholders around new visions for growth. And so how I got here, I've been leading Sylver Consulting for 22 years now. And really, I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. Like, I didn't set out to be an entrepreneur. The job market wasn't that great at the time that I had graduated from grad school. I started working in a situation where it was supposed to be sort of like an intern to hire type of arrangement. And then that company was bought. And basically what I thought was going to be didn't turn out to be. And I had $200 to my name. And I had, basically bills coming due, and I needed to figure it out. And so how I did that was landing a contract position at ABN AMRO LaSalle Bank. And that really became the start of my company. And so 22 years later, looking at why, how have I been successful? Because there aren't that many organizations that were, similar to mine that are still around. They've been bought or they have folded. And so basically, how have I been successful? And that's really where the impetus of Leading Through Freefall has come through, because it's about not just the process, but it's about how do you manage the energy of the people behind the process to really drive impact and breakthroughs.
So, Brianna, first of all, I love the title of your book, as I mentioned in the opening. Let's just talk a little bit about free fall. To me, I've got this, vision of people jumping out of a plane, just on this spiraling down piece. But I've never heard and thought of somebody thinking about leading through this style. Share with the listeners maybe, one, how this title came to be and what we are talking about.
Yeah, so how the title came to be, honestly, it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to write this book. And then it was like, well, actually, what exactly is the book, right? And so initially, I kind of got my whole team into a room and I said, all right, let's really just process through, what do we do that's unique and different, right? And then we did some image projections type stuff as part of that. And, basically an image around, legitly like a free fall and a bunch of people with locked arms was one of the images that came through. And it was and then that sparked the whole conversation, which then sparked the working title for the book of Leading Through Freefall. Now, I have also done skydiving. I'm not an avid skydiver. I did it once, right? And so, but you're up there and you're scared as all hell. You're like, I am not jumping out of this plane. I don't know what I was going to do with this. But then the person that you're riding tandem with, they're calm, they're collected, they're grounded. They've done this 100 different times and they know how you're feeling, but they also know how you're going to feel next. And so they kind of help you to navigate that situation with comfort. And so when I start to think about what do we do every day, which is like leading change and transformation for large organizations, how do we do that well? Well, they're just as scared. And they're just as, fearful of the uncertainty and the ambiguity and not knowing how every step is gonna take. And so for that, it was like, that's exactly what we do. We provide calm and groundedness as people are navigating change and uncertainty and ambiguity and everything else. And so that really became the working title of the book as a result of that.
I love it for so many reasons. I can't even hold back on why I love it. I'm going to share this. One, anytime we have anything oxymoronical, I'm all in. When people think of leading, we think of moving things onward and upward or forward or higher, right? Growth. But here we are talking about free fall on the senses that we're coming down. So just the paradoxicalness of the words themselves. But I do get what you're talking about, and that is that there is this sense of letting go and trying to trust others. And that's the next word I wanted to get to here. Turning turbulence into trust. Is there something unique in the magic soup and recipe that you guys deal with? Because all the listeners know trust is important, but converting people to understand what that trust is, what is it that your company does in the uniqueness to get that trust to exist?
Yeah, so I want to actually focus on the word turbulence, right? So like these are the things that, when things are not going well, and we all have our plan, like how you anticipate that you're going to execute something, and then you have the reality of what actually happens, right? So, and generally speaking, the reality does not meet the plan. And so these are the low moments. And sometimes there are low moments that last just a very short period of time, and you can move through it. Sometimes there are low moments that extend over a period of time, but basically, just like people, projects and companies grow through the low moments if they're dealt with intention, and with a level of compassion. And so that's what the book is all about, is basically how to meet people in the low moments. And so in a business context, oftentimes we just want to push past those low moments. We don't even want to pay attention to them. It's kind of like, oh, somebody's not feeling 100% okay. Well, you know what? If we just do this meeting, they'll feel better tomorrow. In some cases, they may, and in other cases, they're not likely to feel better. And so the book is about basically meeting people in those low moments, those moments of negativity of some sort, whether it's, like outright skepticism and sort of like sabotage from like sort of an external perspective, to then just like trepidation and hesitation on a lower level. And so what we're doing as professionals is we're reading the energy of our clients as they are going through transformation and change. And we're, kind of reading that meta level and then choosing when is the right time to lean in to meet them and understand what's behind that, so that then we can, kind of move through it. And so the book is a series of situations that would be typical of a transformation innovation initiative, and basically what you might be experiencing from a negative energy perspective, and then how to move through that. So it provides sort of the challenge, a case study from my career, and then like the actual challenge or action that the innovator can take to move through it, the actual tool to do that, and then what to expect if they do, and then the mindset shift that they need to be experiencing through that process.
Brianna, I love asking leaders who help organizations this question, and it's more along the lines of kind of that sense and that empathy of what's going on in the world today. Are you seeing a problem pervasive through your client base more often than not? Is there one thing that's sticking out for leaders or organizations today that you are encountering that is popping up to the top?
I mean, I think just the sheer amount of uncertainty that exists in the world right now. I mean, it's impacting us all, whether it's directly or indirectly. And particularly, we largely serve Fortune 1000 organizations, and many of them have been hit by layoffs. And so, of course, the people who are still there, there's a trauma associated with that. There's down trickle effects when it comes to budgets and everything else. And so everybody's just feeling a little uncertain about what happens. The organizations themselves are feeling uncertain about what growth might be possible, how the world has changed. There's just a lot of change that has happened, that the way in which they've done business before or what has made them successful in the past isn't going to make them successful in the future. And so this level of uncertainty is kind of keeping people in a state of paralysis. And so what that can mean is it can be completely demoralizing for them, right? And they can just sort of shut down. But, the way in which we are working with teams is to say, let's just actually name the uncertainty. And there's parts of it we can control and traction that can still be made with that locus of control. And then there's just a lot that can't. But just by putting voice to what it is, we can let it go and allow for the movement. And so what's been so interesting for me, Lou, like even within my own business, but then also seeing it, and I was having a conversation about this yesterday, seeing it in my client environments as well, is I feel like the core definition of movement, flow, and connection when it comes to business has fundamentally shifted in the last year. And so what I'm trying to do is like literally retrain myself for even seeing it because it's different.
So do we think it's changed, or are we maybe just, like we have a much bigger microscope or magnifying glass to be able to look today because we have so much more data. We have so much more business moves faster. Do you think it's that much different the way that we go about and have to connect and move today?
I think yes and no, right? Like, I think some of the things is like it has stayed forward, right? Like, people connecting and being in face-to-face communication, like there's power in that you cannot achieve solely through, Slack and Teams channels, right? Yet some people never want to do that because they feel like they have a preference for being the Slack and Teams channels. Yet when they actually get into a live connection, more like this or like physically live together, they're like, wow, that was really cool. That was really awesome. Right. And so there's sort of like a continually having to get ourselves out of the comfort zone, even though we think our preference is that, to then like doing what our body actually feels good doing afterwards and like taking note of that. But like from a movement perspective, like yesterday, I think we have a project right now that's in a lot of ways sort of stalled at the moment, right? And it's like normally I would internalize that as like, oh, what's going on? What can we do to move it? But when I'm really scaling out and I'm understanding what's happening to that project, like it's actually gaining tremendous momentum inside of our client. And the stall that I'm experiencing right now is just literally because all the building blocks underneath this project are being set up to have some massive impact internally. And so I'm experiencing it as stall, but when I really look at it at a broader perspective, I'm like, in another year, that project is going to be like outstanding from an impact perspective. But I'm having to retrain myself to realize that sometimes movement isn't always about doing. It's about patience in the moment to allow for the things to set up and the building blocks around things to take root. And so that's what I mean about some retraining of just like, it's actually just a little different than what it's been in the past.
We just had a guest on the show, Brianna, where I had asked the question, when you have trouble thriving, what practice do you seek or what individual you seek out, or what do you do when you're not thriving? And there was this assumption that you always have to be doing something and moving to be in this thriving state. But her response was really along the lines of, we need a moment to ourselves. We need to sit back and digest what's happening. We need to, literally recharge to be able to thrive even more. And I totally get that I think there is this perception, yes, that movement is important, but sometimes we need to prepare for the next move. Ourselves, our team, our messaging, whatever it might be. So I'm in line.
Yeah, I resonate.
Yeah. I always ask authors this question, and I'd love to get your take, Brianna. You've created a cool gift, a lesson that we will provide in very shortly when we tell everybody where they can find it. But you've given them a gift in this new book, and all the work that you do, and any of the content you create. But I always find that what happens is when you put this great content out there, there is a gift in return that the content creator receives. Brianna, in putting leading through free fall out into the universe, let's come back to you.
I love this. This is probably the most fun piece of writing this book so far, which I know you can identify with. Now that people are reading it and they're coming back and they're sharing what is the transformations that have happened in their own lives. And, there's inner transformations as well as outer transformations that I'm hearing about. So from an inner transformation perspective, one of my favorite stories so far is one of my clients was like, well, first of all, when she first started reading the book, she texted me, she's like, I'm an innovator, Brianna. And I was like, yeah, you're an innovator. And then as she gets further in, she's like, I'm an innovator. I've never thought of myself as an innovator. I've never thought about how I'm leading transformation. I'm like, yeah, and you're a badass in doing it. You're amazing in doing that, right? But it's it was almost like a deepening for her of a sense of identity that she found in the context of this book. And then now a couple months later, it's allowing her to stand taller and be braver in the connections, both in terms of leading her team as well as kind of managing up in the organization. So that's been cool. I would call that more of the inner transformation. But then from an outer transformation perspective, I've had people reach out to say, hey, I used this tool and this is what happened. A friend reached out. He had used a tool that's in the book called the 5 intention setting questions. And he's an institutional advancement. So not even innovation, right? Fundraising. That's what he does. And so he was fundraising for an organization. He's like, we have been trying to solve this problem for 60 years, 60 years. And we have not been able to put the funding together for this project. He's like, so, and he's new to the scene. So he's like, I came in and I was like, all right, we're going to use the 5 intention setting questions. And just like you told me, Brianna, they're going to think it's weird initially. And they did. But he's like, I ran them through the 5 intention setting questions. He's like, and within 30 minutes, we had identified the primary roadblock that had been preventing them from getting the funding for 60 years. And he's like, within 24 hours before the formal campaign even started, I had 80% of the money that they needed from a couple people who gave key gifts that were part of that connection. So that's a huge, talk about impact, right? Clearing roadblocks in the span of 24 hours. It's incredible.
Love it. Brianna, share with the listeners all the places people can find you.
Well, I am huge on LinkedIn, so that would be a good place to connect with me. So it's just Brianna Sylver, and my last name is Sylver. First name has 2 N's, so Brianna. Certainly at sylverconsulting.com. Again, Sylver. And then you can find Leading Through Free Fall at leadingthroughfreefall.com or wherever you buy books, both in the United States as well as wherever you are on the globe.
Spectacular. We will put all the links, show notes, everything that you could find after this episode's done. And obviously, anybody driving their car, don't go searching for it right now, but you can actually see the spelling of her name right on your screen if you're looking at it right there. I always say that. We're pretty good at making sure we get the names right of all of our guests. Brianna, are you ready to roll and stroll down Fun Street here on Thrive Loud?
I am. Let's do it.
Okay, so as I stated to you at the top of the call, because she is a regular listener of Thrive Loud fans, she knows a little bit of the cadence we go through here, but we're changing things up a little bit to keep Brianna on her toes because, hey, we're free falling. That's what I'm going with. We're free falling. Brianna, give me your Mount Rushmore, meaning that it can't exceed 4 of movies that have connected with you in your life, the ones that are the go-tos that whenever you think about, make you smile, happy, cry, whatever it might be, your favorite movies on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, so one of my favorite all-time is Beaches. So I have a childhood friend, Lynn, that is very similar to sort of the dynamic of Beaches. So that's probably one that I think about often. It's been ages since I've watched that one, though. I need to go back to it. I think there's a movie, I think it's called Breakthrough. I may have that one wrong. But it's basically about a kid who had fallen into a lake and he had died, and then he came back to life. And so I watched that movie on a plane, and I was like completely bawling the entire time, because it's just really about the miracle, healing power of God. And it was just like, I literally just couldn't stop crying. It was amazing, a beautiful story. And then let's see, and then another one, that I really like, I think it might be like, it's with Gwyneth Paltrow, like sliding doors. Yeah, where you're kind of like going into different times, and like years later, read the book Midnight Libraries, and it's the same type of like, you go down one path, it's this way. You go down another path, it's that way. It was pretty remarkable.
Awesome. I just keep imagining it, who was ever sitting next to you on the plane while you're bawling on watching that little screen on the plane. I've always like laughed at what people will watch on certain flights. You could learn a lot about somebody that you're sitting next to based on just what they're watching in a 2 to 3 hours flight. So folks. All right, we're gonna head on down to the Speakeasy Pub Girl. We're gonna stop at all the fun places that mean the most to Brianna. Here we go.
Okay.
Of late, Brianna, a song that you love to listen to or one that pumps you up.
Honestly, one that I just am right now on repeat is "I Speak Jesus." So it's all around like the healing power, and you see obviously a thread here, right? The healing power, and just kind of with everything that's going on in the world, just like, okay, I speak Jesus. There's a purpose, there's a reason. Don't know why, but I'm going to believe that there's a higher and grander plan here.
Favorite food that is not a dessert?
Tacos.
Favorite dessert?
Anything that's really gooey chocolate. The richest chocolate cake that you can find, but it's got to like have like, it can't be too sweet.
Okay.
And it can't be like, there's a lot of chocolate cakes that look like they're going to be decadent, and then you take a bite and you're like, oh, that's such a disappointment. And so there used to be a woman, her name was Julia. She made the best chocolate cake ever. And I've only ever found one chocolate cake that can hold up to Julia's, and she is long gone at this point in time.
So I am between, if you have the most decadent, richest chocolate cake and it's too light, there's not enough substance on the other spectrum, whatever is directly in the middle is where I'm at. Because when it gets too rich and too heavy, I feel like I'm not enjoying it. And if it's too light and flaky, you're not getting anything out of it. There's some barometer in there in the middle. That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
with chocolate cake.
I agree. And, now that I can't have Julia's chocolate cake, like I would say like a chocolate flourless cake,
Okay,
kind of oftentimes hits that middle mark for me, like it doesn't have the same textural feel, obviously, but it hits the middle mark.
Brianna's got some real passion on chocolate cake. That's for sure. Okay. An activity you wish you did more
of? Musical theater.
An activity you wish you did less of?
Dealing with tasks and like list management.
I want to rewind here on the musical theater. Are you doing more musicals? Are you like finding avenues and outlets to perform?
So I perform I'm on the worship team for my church. So I'm a vocalist for that. So I, maybe once a month or so am on the team for that. But I haven't done any plays in musical theater since I was, really in high school, college days. And that is something I would like to get back to. Like my daughter, 14, like now she's starting to get a little bit into that. And I'm kind of her coach. And when we get into those moments of coaching, I'm like, ooh, I don't want to be Ariel in The Little Mermaid.
Brianna, a new activity, one you've recently tried, you like so much you want to tell all of the listeners and viewers to try?
I recently went so I'm really into hot yoga. And I recently, my hot yoga studio recently started like a boot camp class in the heat. And I sort of showed up one day and it was like hey, surprise, we're going to change today's programming to kind of highlight something we're going to do. And I was just like, oh goodness, this sounds terrible. Like in the heat, not as high as like a typical hot yoga, but still in the heat, like boot camp class.
Wow.
And in the end, it was like pretty awesome. So just, I've only done it one time so far, but they're officially starting it next week. And I was like, I think I'm going back, in a different scheduled hour.
Brianna Sylver, if I could snap my fingers and you can be anywhere in the world, where are you?
Praia de Jucaí in Brazil. So my husband's Brazilian and we go to Praia de Jucaí every spring break. And it's just like this wonderful place. The beaches are super clean. It's about 2.5 hours outside of São Paulo. All of, his family, like his, sister, our nieces, my in-laws come. They live in Brasilia normally. So everybody's on vacation. We rent a house that's super close to the beach. So everybody can kind of move back and forth to the beach at their own leisure. We're not trying to get, 8 people out of the house at the same time to go to the beach every day. And it's just delightful. I mean, I love to read and I don't get enough time to read, during the year. So I take like 8 books and just literally sit on the beach all day and read books. And it's just delightful.
Brianna Sylver, leading through free fall. Great to have you on the program. We're going to give a shout out to Page 2 Publishing, who we both are very familiar with, and the efforts they put through. Everyone, go grab yourself a copy. Go look up Sylver Consulting. Brianna, truly a pleasure to have you on the program. Great to have you on this amazing platform and to hear everything that you're doing. Good stuff.
I am so grateful for the time. Thanks so much, Lou.
You got it. To all our listeners and viewers out there, thank you for joining us. Till next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.